What's starting to emerge as being different now in the Bharat layer as you're going about addressing it via your own portfolio companies?
Yeah, so what's different now is that if you look over the last 4 or 5 years, the internet access problems completely solved for the Bharat consumer. If you look for 50 million plus smartphone users are spending 100 minutes plus per day on a smartphone, so they're looking at the best things out there, right? So be it through Instagram, whatever, YouTube, wherever, they want the best. They're aspirational. They know what's happening everywhere, right? That's number one. So they have the internet access. The second is previously the physical access, the logistic networks and all that. Tier two, three maybe existed, but if you went beyond, it didn't wasn't there. And over the last 5 6 years and a decade, perhaps like all that problem also has been addressed. And the third thing is the ability for them to transact online. So previously it had to be mostly through
Yeah.
cash on demand, right? So, but right now, because of the UPI, ubiquitous nature of UPI, they are able to pay and purchase that. So these three, and for the top 30% of the rural population, if you look there, but the ability to spend is higher than the bottom 50% of urban. So that's not a very well-known fact. So it is a really exciting market that needs its own solutions. Mukul works with Misho. They started with that, right?
Yeah.
So and they've shown that it can be done, and we are seeing more and more of that. We have a company called City Mall, again, common between us and Elevation. That's showing a different way of approaching. We have another company called Apna Mart that's trying to go after that. So there are various ways to go and address this market and solve problems that they uniquely face, which couldn't have been done a decade ago for sure.
The runway that you foresee from here on for some of these consumer brands now operating in India, because there are questions on the consumption power, on the discretionary spending power at this point in time?
So, Shereen, I think those are all the right questions if we think of here and now. And as you know better than anyone else, if we look at India from a 10-year lens, that's when you get to see how much progress is really happening. And if we go 10 years back, I don't think anyone would have imagined we'll have 1,000 crore plus new age consumer brands getting built in less than a decade, which we are already starting to see. In fact, even till 3 4 years back, consumer brands was not even considered a venture capital investable business, because people would feel, hey, will they grow large, big enough? Is there enough TAM or not? Now, if we look at where we are sitting today, nearing in $2,500 $3,000 per capita income, and 10 years out, it could be 2.5x of where we are today. So we'll be at $6,000 $8,000 per capita income. At these levels, discretionary income starts to grow much faster than the rate of GDP growth. And therefore, we believe in a lot of these categories. Bliss Club is right there where consumers are premiumizing. They are looking for best in the world products. So if a consumer in India who wants athleisure, they are looking at a US market and saying that, hey, my friends in the US have access to brands like Lululemon, which, by the way, their products start at $100. So I have the same aspiration. I want the same quality. I'm willing to pay up by Indian standards. So I will not buy $100 product, but if Bliss Club can give me similar product for 1,000, 1,500 rupees, is there demand for that? And we have been very, very surprised. So we had done seed investment in Bliss Club in early 2021, mid 2021. So it's been almost 3 years since that investment, and they are nearing 200 crore annualized revenue run rate and very close to profitability. Again, this goes to show that if you have a very differentiated, high quality product at the right price, and in India, all of these are important. You can't have quality but very expensive. You can't have cheap but poor quality. You have to find the right balance. But if you find it, the TAM is very, very large. And we will continue to be positively surprised over the next decade as well with the kind of TAM or revenue scale some of these companies will achieve.
Let's talk about what has surprised you in the year gone by, both the positives as well as the negatives. I mean, what have been the big surprises and the big upsets?
Big surprises. That is a good question. So I think the reception of tech IPOs in the Indian market has been I would say, a pleasant surprise. Like the public markets appreciating companies that were built over a period of time and different areas, be it a Swiggy in consumer or BlackBuck, on the B2B side. So that was that's good to see. That's the work of over 10 plus years being able to see the next step of that evolution. So that's a good one. What can be better? I would say I'm like going back to my theme. I'd love to meet more and more founders building for Bharat or new age consumer platforms, AI, like any of these. Always as a VC looking to find good founders. I feel there's still there is some level of skepticism around building for Bharat. So hopefully people get over that. And I feel there could be a lot more high quality AI companies coming out of India because we have some of the best founder base here. So looking forward to that. I would say that's an opportunity rather than a disappointment.
But what would you qualify as the risk that we should be mindful of as we enter 2025?
See, the biggest opportunity and the biggest risk, and at the risk of repetition, we have already spoken about it, is this whole AI shift which is happening. And if I had to say what is one thing I wish I had seen more of in this year, I would say it was global best-in-class AI companies coming out of India. We spoke about that middle layer. We spoke about the application layer. We are starting to see some of that, but nowhere close to the same scale as what is happening in the rest of the world. So there we cannot, as a country, get left behind. There, I think we have to be much more bolder, much more ambitious, and say that, hey, over the next 5, 7, 10 years, how do we make sure we have best-in-class global AI companies being built out of India? And today we have the talent, we have the capital, we have the market access. So that, in my view, is the biggest opportunity and biggest risk if we miss out on it. So next 12, 24 months will be crucial for that.
What's the likely impact of this domestic capital, which has been, which we've been waiting to be unlocked, finally starting to be unlocked?
No, I feel that's really good to see more of the local, both entrepreneurs who've seen exits as well as people, other HNIs jumping into the startup side, both early stage as well as into pre-IPO and post-IPO. So I think that's a very healthy thing for the ecosystem. And see, valuations will go up and down. I think long term, we are here for the long term investment. So I'm not too concerned about the short term fluctuations, right? I think it's a long term good trend to see more and more local investors coming into the market.
Mukul, what about you?
Shereen, see, I completely agree with Anand on that. And if we look at total tech market cap, public and private in India put together, and I'm just looking at new age companies, it will probably be in that $300-400 billion sort of zone. And over next decade, it is going to multiply manyfold. And so far, participants in this value creation obviously have been domestic investors, but it has also been a lot of foreign capital as well. And as we look at next 10 years, obviously, as this value creation happens, we should see more and more domestic capital participating in this. HNIs is one part of it. Is there even room for, like, globally, lot of endowment funds, lot of universities, lot of fund of funds are participating in this asset class? Why should domestic capital miss out on this opportunity? So we would love to see much more domestic participation in this hundreds of dollars of value creation, which is hundreds of billions of dollars of value creation, which is going to happen over the next decade or so.
What's the outlook as far as the IPO pipeline itself is concerned?
Sure. So see, from our perspective and from the company's lens, what we can control is our own performance. And the good news is, like you said, there is a long list of companies which are growing well, which have become profitable, which also know that they are now mature enough to go public and have a predictable business trajectory. So that is what is in our control. And it's great to see that now tens of Indian companies are getting into that bucket. Now, next year, like you said, there are a lot of domestic as well as global variables basis, which we'll know how long does this IPO window remain open. And therefore, we'll have to wait and see how many of these companies can actually list. But even if some of them cannot next year, it's perfectly fine because they are resilient businesses. They'll keep compounding. And whenever the opportunity and timing is right, they can always come back to the market at that time.
Well, Anand, what's your expectation? Do you believe that 2025 is going to be an even hotter IPO pipeline than 2024?
The Indian market, if you look overall on an aggregate basis, VC-backed companies are less than 5%, right? So there's a lot of headroom for growth. So high-quality companies are getting created. as Mukul said, the company's job is to get ready, be ready to list. If the markets open, they will at that time. And we really hope that markets continue to be, valuations could go up and down. But if the market continues to embrace new age tech companies, I think that's great for the overall ecosystem. And we hope to see more and more of that.
So to put it simply in one word, and Anand, I'll start by asking you, as you walk into 2025, what's the word that captures how you feel, the mood?
Super excited. Words.
Super excited. Mukul, what about you?
Very optimistic.
Mukul Arora and Anand Daniel, many thanks for joining us on this special edition of Young Turks as we mapped out the year that was for India's startups and what the road ahead looks like. We will take a break here. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment with a lot more here on CNBC TV 18.